going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. So yesterday I saw the movie Immaculate. I did not want to see the movie Immaculate. I did not mean to see the movie Immaculate, and I think I am forever scarred for life. Let's talk about it.
My movie review.
Okay, so for people who do not know, this is the movie from Sydney Sweeney. This is like kind of a passion project for her, which I thought was really interesting because after watching the movie, I really want to know what part of this stuck out to her that she's like, yeah, this needs to be a film that exists. But I'm going to go into depth with this movie, and there's stuff that happens at the end of this movie that you probably don't want to hear about if you're planning on watching the movie. So I'm going to issue a spoiler warning, as I usually do. But I'm going to go ahead and start off the first couple of minutes here talking about the behind-the-scenes stuff. So you guys can stick around for that and then potentially click off whenever I get into things that are more based on the story. But to start off, I want to talk about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff because, like I mentioned, this is kind of like a passion project for Sydney Sweeney, and I don't know if a lot of people know this. I, yesterday, was planning on going to see the movie Late Night with the Devil, but I messed up the time, so I didn't get to go see it. But I went to see this movie instead, and I have heard a lot of things about this movie. And one of the big things about this movie that I think is really interesting is this movie is one of the first movies and acting projects that Sydney Sweeney ever auditioned for. Forever ago, this movie was supposed to happen. It was going to take place in like a Catholic boarding school or something like that, and it was supposed to take place with younger characters. And Sydney Sweeney was very, very interested in this movie. She auditioned for it. She got a call back. Things were going relatively well. It seemed like she was going to have this lead role, and something fell through with the movie studio. They ended up either going bankrupt because it was a small studio that was trying to produce it, or just the overall big company that was running it were like, okay, we don't like this project, and they just kind of like canned it. And then Sydney Sweeney went on to do other auditions, and she had her big break with the Euphoria show, and she's done a couple of other movies since then. And now that she's more successful and she's a lot more wealthy, she decided, you know what, I now have the money to become a producer, and she decided that she was going to produce this film. And she was like, I really liked the script that we had back then. I still want to do this movie. I still want to be this main character. And so what she did was she went out and she got in contact with the people who wrote this movie and the people who were creating this movie, and were like, how much money do you guys need for us to potentially produce this movie? We can find a new company to partner with. And she basically brought this entire film that was completely dead, and she brought it back to life. She got a director who she worked on with a movie called, I believe, Voyagers a couple of years ago. She got that director to come on and direct this movie, and then she basically was so passionate about it that she was able to make this movie come to fruition. And I think that that's interesting. And anytime that there's a director, a screenwriter, an actor, anybody like this who is so passionate about a project that they are willing to get it made, I definitely think it's worth watching, and I definitely think it's worth going and experiencing, even if it's not your cup of tea. Like, I knew this wasn't going to be my cup of tea, but I still was like, you know what, I'm going to give this movie a chance, I'm going to go watch it. And there's a lot that could be said about this movie, and this is where the spoiler warning is coming down. If you haven't seen the movie, I would suggest clicking off now. This movie was disturbing. I don't know, obviously, because I've never seen a lot of horror movies. The majority of the horror movies I've seen are the very like pow jump in your face, like little jump scare type stuff, or like the slasher horror films like the Scream movies, Halloween, stuff like that. I've never watched any of the like religious horror movies. If it has like a nun, an exorcist, anything like that, I typically try to stay away from them because personally, I don't care a lot about religion. I don't know a lot about religion, and I want it to be a movie that I will easily be able to pick up and understand what's going on here. And this movie was one of those films where there was a lot of very deep meanings, a lot of dark sequences, and a lot of stuff that I personally did not fully understand. But we start off with Sydney Sweeney's character. She's traveling to another country so that she can join this nun. I don't know what they're called. I keep calling them nunneries, but I know that's not it. But she's just going to this like little Catholic place where she could become a nun and basically devote herself to God or whatever, right? And she decided to go to this one that's in Italy. She doesn't know Italian, and that's something that really bothers me throughout this entire film. Very small little nitpicky thing, but she is in Italy for at least 9 months. She never once decides to learn Italy. She's literally still depending on people to translate stuff for her the entire time she's there. And I think that that's funny because she has 9 months to learn the language, and she never does. But basically, she shows up at this nun school. Very eerie vibes. A lot of things feels really off. Some of the sisters are literally telling her, hey, before you vow, you can still leave. You can still turn around and go home. You should probably leave and go home. If you're, just doing this to try to like find yourself or something like that, maybe don't do that. You should definitely turn away and leave right now. And Sydney Sweeney's character doesn't pick up on any of those signs and still decides, you know what, I'm gonna vow. And then she does, and she becomes a nun. And that's great. Good for her. That's fantastic, right? And basically, this movie's pacing, I will say, is really weird. The introduction is incredibly slow, and then the second act feels like there is like no second act. Like after she becomes like a vow, we basically just get like a lot of sequences between her like walking around the building at night, and like there being a bunch of jump scares. There's a sequence where a nun kills herself, and that's really fucked up. There's a moment where we are watching them kind of learn some of the like basic tasks and everything that they need to do around the campus, and what's it called? We get introduced to this old lady character who is like, her head isn't in the right spot or whatever. She seems like she's going crazy. And we realize that, she's been branded. There's like crosses burned onto her feet. There's a bunch of really weird stuff with that. And then eventually it gets revealed Sydney Sweeney is pregnant now. And she hasn't had intercourse. There's never been a time in her life where she hasn't intercourse. She's a virgin. And it basically gets revealed, oh my God, she's like the Virgin Mary. And this is so crazy. And this is like the miracle. And what's it called? Like I mentioned earlier, there's a character who killed herself. I'm pretty sure she killed herself because she wanted to be the miracle. She wanted to be the Virgin Mary or whatever. And it didn't end up happening. And essentially, it gets revealed really early on now that everything about this place, they're just looking to find the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. And so they have all these nuns here, and they're hoping that one of the nuns will just magically become the Virgin Mary, and they'll have the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, so that they have the miracle, so that, the world can be a better place now. It's very vague what the bad people's, like, point of view is here, what they are essentially trying to accomplish. They basically just want to, have the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and that's it. And they never really elaborate anything on that. But basically, now that Sydney Sweeney's pregnant, we go through the 9 months of her pregnancy are like rushed through like that. Like we very quickly rushed to her being 9 months pregnant and her being ready to, give birth soon. And what's it called? At this point, like I mentioned, it's been 9 months. She's ready to leave. She's like, this place is really fucked up. So she murders a chicken in the middle of the night and pretends like she's bleeding out and she really needs to go to an actual hospital. And they try to take her to a hospital, but they are really far away. And someone realizes that she killed a chicken, and all the blood that they're seeing is not actually from her, it's from a dead animal. And they realize she was just trying to escape. And then they take her back, they brand her feet, and then we have this big third act, like, weird conclusion where she's finally about to give birth. They're all getting really excited because there's going to be, like, the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. And then it gets revealed that they basically pulled a Jurassic Park on her. So basically, for people who don't know what I'm talking about, Jurassic Park, in the first movie, they have like something is found that has the DNA of dinosaurs, and they realize, oh my God, we can recreate dinosaurs. They have this nail, which is from Jesus's crucifixions, and they realize it has some of Jesus's genetics on it. It has some of his blood and stuff that they could use to potentially recreate Jesus Christ. And so they got that. They did a bunch of sciencey stuff so that they could potentially turn it into like semen, and then they impregnated Sydney Sweeney's character so that she will be the Virgin Mary and she will have the reincarnation of Jesus Christ because of like cloning stuff. Very interesting science stuff. That part was pretty fascinating to me. But basically after that, Sydney Sweeney kind of like goes off on the people and she's just like, this isn't the Lord's work and stuff like that. And she talks about how all they're doing is fake and how they're like not really religious and they suck. And then we have the only moment of the movie that I really enjoy. 9-month pregnant Sydney Sweeney, who now has brands on her feet, goes on a killing spree and starts murdering all of the people who have treated her like shit the entire movie. And she goes and she kills like the priest. She goes and she kills the person who's called the father, who's like, I think he's also a priest, but he's not the main priest. I don't know if that makes sense, but if it makes sense to you, cool, you get it. The person who's known as like the mother in this nunnery. Once again, I don't think nunnery is a word. It's just what I use because I don't know what to call it. And she literally just goes and she kills a bunch of people. She burns their laboratory where they're recreating, you know, Jesus semen. That's a phrase I never thought I would say. I hated everything about that. But yeah, and basically she goes around, she just kills everybody. She ends up in, there's like underground catacombs underneath the, what's it called, place. And then she realizes that there's a place she can escape underground. And then she goes and she does that. And then we get a 6-minute long, and this is the end of the movie, we get a 6-minute long sequence of her screaming in pain and giving birth. And then she bites off the umbilical cord, right? Grabs a gigantic rock and smashes the baby. Yeah, so I would not recommend watching this movie. I was not a fan of that. The entire last, 8 minutes were a very, very hard watch. You actually never see the baby, after she, gives birth. You never see the baby. It's just, it's implied the baby's right there, and, she kills the baby. But, yeah, it was a very, very disturbing movie. I definitely would not recommend it to anybody. I don't think it was, actually scary. That was the big thing. I was expecting this to be a horror movie. It wasn't scary at all. It was just painfully uncomfortable, and it made me kind of, feel sick to my stomach. I wanted to throw up almost the entire time. I got popcorn to watch this movie. Would not recommend that if you do go to see it. That was terrible. But yeah, overall, very interesting movie. There are parts of it that I think work really well. I think that the entire set design and the entire location of everything is absolutely beautiful. There are a couple of sequences when Sydney Sweeney's trying to run away where they just let the entire scene go mute, and then we're just watching what happens with a little bit of elegant music playing in the background, and they'll slow-mo the shot and stuff like that, and it looks very beautiful. There's definitely a lot of shots in here that are great, but overall, wasn't a fan of the story. I think it was relatively basic. I feel all the dialogue and everything was very underwhelming, and then like I said, the pacing was just weird because it was there was a lot of stuff that happened right away, and then she gets pregnant, and then they kind of skip all of the pregnancy stuff and just kind of have a bunch of 20-minute long segments of her walking around the house, and it was not great. I was not a fan. Overall, if I had to rate this movie, probably would give it a 41 out of 100. Like I said, this is just a movie that's not for me. There are people out there who might go and see this movie and really enjoy it. I was not one of those people. I was very grossed out, and I was not a fan. But yeah, that being said, it's time for the Letterboxd segment. That's right. I had 3 that I really liked here. This one I thought was hilarious. It was a woman saying nothing scarier than being pregnant. Honestly, love that, and I completely agree. This one, Sydney's character went through blood, sweat, tears in the movie, but she still had no intention of learning Italian. I thought that was hilarious because, like I mentioned, she was literally in this place for 9 months, and then it was shown after she got pregnant that they didn't make her do any work, and they had her just relax the entire time. She never learned Italian, and it seems like she just didn't care to learn Italian, and I think that's funny. And then this last one, it's like Jurassic Park, but with Jesus, and I think that's hilarious because I literally used that exact phrasing to try to explain the plot to my siblings, because I was they did the Jurassic Park thing where they stole the DNA and then tried cloning them. But yeah. And yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow.
Back at it again, but that's a relevant flow. So smooth, they calling me Mr. Elegant. Like an elephant, I got a long nose. Like a president, I've got a few hoes. Swift with a stutter, I'm smooth like butter. Don't see it coming when I slip undercover. Like a big dog, but I don't bite. I'm still a big broad, I'd win that fight. Come match you and I knock out your lights.